I was a really young father, and I wanted to use faith as a way to be a good guide for my family based on how I was taught. But along with being a good guide, I was really interested also in being able to feed them, clothe them, and keep a roof over their head. I found that to be really important aspect of that job. And turning to my faith, the way to do that was, of course, through a lot of prayer, fasting. But when I say prayer, I mean pleading. Oh, God, please, show me the way. A lot of praying, 5 times a day, getting up early in the morning, that type of thing. And that's nothing wrong with that. However, my experiences with that weren't all positive, and I didn't understand why those prayers were not necessarily answered, or at least not answered as quickly as I'd like them to be. And then the other part was fasting, and I was an expert at fasting. 24-hour fast, no problem. 48-hour fast, no problem. 72-hour fast, I got that. You know what the secret is to being able to fast like that? Being broke. It makes it so easy to stick to your fast. But on this journey, and when I say young, I'm talking really young. You know, I got married my first marriage, I was 17 years old. And so I'm really trying to figure things out, but we're all at that point, right? When you're becoming an adult, you're trying to figure life out, and it's a frustrating thing. There's no manual for it. But I remember just leaving the house one night. I just wanted to go be in tears, you know, and I just didn't want my wife to see me. And I walked out to these mountains. So this is about 30 years ago. So Las Vegas, where I was living at the time, there are mountains, obviously, that surround Las Vegas, but the city ended. You know, all that construction you see nowadays, none of that existed. It was just nothing out there, desert and mountains. And I just went walking out there. You know, there's mountain lions out there and there's coyotes. I just didn't even think about it. Not a smart thing to do. But I was just in pain. And I wanted to go out there and pray and plead and all those other things and do that by myself. And I began to feel that God's grace and God's love was arbitrary. I'll give it to you when I feel like it. Maybe you didn't pray the right way. You didn't say the words the right way. Maybe if you learn to say your prayers in Arabic, maybe then they'll be answered. Just all kinds of things that came through my mind. And some of us may have a similar experience in our respective faith traditions that we grew up in. Am I doing this right? Why is God not responding to me? And for me, at least, it felt like I had to be a perfect person. I needed to follow every scripture. I needed to make sure that I did everything to the T, and it was really debilitating. You want to bring or have God in your life. You want to be a quote-unquote righteous person. You want to do right. You want to express right. But it became so hard. Like, how do you actually do this? But in that process, I did gain a basic understanding of visualization. Walking through those mountains, I was able to think about, well, this is what I actually want. And I was able to see it and see it very clearly. And these were not grand goals. It wasn't a beautiful home and a nice car. It was, I want to make sure I pay the rent at the beginning of the month. You know, I want to make sure the utilities paid and that my children have the things that they needed. And at least it was good from that perspective. And it also led me to the second part of my journey. In the second part of my journey, it took me to what we call self-help. Over a few months, I eventually got a job. It was selling cars. And I remember going on a break to a bookstore, and I think I found a Brian Tracy book or something. And I read it, and it really ignited something in me, or rather reignited. When I was about 14 years old, I was in some summer program in Atlanta, and a motivational speaker came in, and they shared these truth principles. But as you know, with self-help, it's very surface level. It doesn't really get down into what is behind these techniques. But it did take me far. It helped me to expand this idea of what visualization is. It helped me to eventually complete college and go to grad school and build a career and do these wonderful things. But I hit a wall spiritually. These techniques are great, but what's behind them and how do you use them effectively? And I found it to be very hit or miss. Self-help was like a you go. Anybody remember you goes? Yeah, you go, I stay. So for all those who are listening and you're not familiar with that, Google it. It's hilarious. It's a car, kind of, and it'll get you where you want to go sometimes, but not very fast. And that's